From a smoky city to one with stunning views, today, Pittsburgh has a title we love to brag about.
People who could move anywhere in the country are looking at Pittsburgh because we are one of the most livable cities.
A most livable city with lots of great neighborhoods. But would you ever consider living downtown?
I think initially they thought we were a little crazy.
Downtown Pittsburgh never really had a strong residential market.
When I was here in '85, you could roll a bowling ball through this place and hit nothing.
But that's not the case anymore.
It's totally changing.
I would say the greatest thing about living downtown is just having everything at your doorsteps.
Downtown Pittsburgh, its health is really doing great, and you really sense that when you live here.
Nearly 8,000 people now live in the greater downtown area, including 4,000 in the Golden Triangle. And there's no shortage for the reasons why.
Walked in, looked out a window, and I said, this is where I want to be someday.
I did look at other areas, but it always came down to the commute.
We wanted a change. We didn't want the typical two-bedroom home. We didn't want any more yard work. We were ready for something new.
From the industrial to the ingenious, the practical to the posh.
The asking price of this unit is $768,500.
We'll show you some of the places Pittsburghers are now calling home. Whether renting or buying, there are lots of perks.
We've got all kinds of wonderful things going on.
And some challenges too. But this growing real estate trend could ultimately mean big things for Pittsburgh. This is a look at Pittsburgh's next renaissance, downtown living. Hi, I'm Tanya Caruso. Mention downtown Pittsburgh and a few things may come to mind. Traffic, tall buildings, a place people come to work. But these days, more and more people are also calling downtown home. In fact, downtown Pittsburgh is in the middle of another major transformation. And for the first time ever, housing is a big part of it.
Sometimes we see swimmers.
On a hot, sunny day in late July, Avanti Johnson and developer Todd Pelsick take in the views from a roof in downtown Pittsburgh.
It'll be finished concrete.
Okay.
There'll be rails, of course.
As Todd lays out plans for a rooftop deck, Avanti can't stop thinking about the day she'll finally call this home.
I'm so excited to move in. Like, I tell everybody every day, like I have a countdown.
Avanti's brand new condo will actually be in a nearly 130-year-old building. 1 Fifth Ave, as it will be called, sits on Penn Avenue near Stanwyck Street. It's the latest downtown project for Todd Pelsick and his partners at Penn Avenue Renaissance.
I think we bought 3 on Penn Avenue and probably about to buy a 4th. I kept looking at downtown saying, why, we have the beautiful architecture, but why don't we develop it? The construction costs of these taller buildings are higher. But from an investment point of view, if you see the billions of dollars of investment going downtown, it just makes it, for me, it makes it a no-brainer.
Billions of dollars from private, public, and nonprofit sectors, changing the face and the feel of downtown.
I think we're moving forward, absolutely. Downtown is much more vital, even after work hours.
They keep on adding restaurants, and if you look around, it's so busy.
I feel like I'm not even in Pittsburgh anymore. I don't know what happened in the past 5 years, but it's changing, and every time you turn around, there's a new beautiful building, there's a new beautiful park.
If you look at where Pittsburgh was downtown 5 years ago, and where it is today, it's significantly different.
From the New Market Square and North Shore Connector to PNC's Green Skyscraper, the Fairmont Hotel, and more. There's plenty new in downtown Pittsburgh, but it didn't happen overnight. Rather, over decades, prompted by a time when parts of downtown had a much different reputation.
The cultural district of downtown Pittsburgh was the notorious red light district, one of the most notorious red light districts in the entire United States. Liberty Avenue, Penn Avenue, Every block had dozens of sort of what we would call adult uses.
So in the mid-1980s, under the guidance of the Heinz Endowments, the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust was formed. Its goal? To transform the red light district using the arts.
The progress of the Cultural Trust is remarkable.
Kevin McMahon is the Trust's current president and CEO.
Here was this group of civic leaders that said, we want a great new downtown. And what could bring people downtown? Entertainment was a way to bring lots of economic vitality to downtown.
And so the Trust began to buy, renovate, and restore countless buildings. It wasn't long before the strip clubs and peep shows were replaced by performance spaces, restaurants, and parks. Today, as the cornerstone of revitalization, the Cultural District brings more than 2 million people into downtown Pittsburgh each year. Mayor Luke Ravenstahl says the goal now is to get them to stay.
If you had to say, where do we need to go? We need to have more people living here.
Well, there's no question that the number one thing that sort of finishes the job, the icing on the cake, if you will, are people living in the Cultural District, living downtown.
I would say about 5 or 6 years ago, we started to see a big change as we had some of the newer buildings started construction.
Liz Kaplan is a realtor who specializes in downtown properties. Her list of clients is growing.
We see a real mix of buyers, young professionals, people who work downtown already and are looking for the convenience of walking to work, people who want a lifestyle change. We see a lot of empty nesters who have lived in the suburbs.
Empty nesters like Fred and Christine Tiemann, who lived in Edgewood for 28 years while raising a family. They left their 4,000 square foot home for this more than 2,000 square foot condo at the newly built 151 First Side. The building sits on Fort Pitt Boulevard. It's easy to spot when coming out of the Fort Pitt tunnels and onto the Parkway East.
And who begins the conversation of maybe it's time to move and maybe we should move downtown?
I was not ready for that conversation initially, so he's the one that had the desire.
Fred is a former U.S. attorney and now the head of the Buell Foundation. He began to get excited about the changes downtown.
I just really had a sense that downtown Pittsburgh was really turning around, and I'd lived in New York City for a year and loved it.
I was not for it. I thought it would be a nice investment and that we were to see it as an investment, but no guarantee in moving.
The Tiemans bought their place back in 2005, but they leased it for several years before moving downtown. Now, Chris couldn't be happier.
And so it's only been a year, as of June 1st, that we have been here. So it's been a great year.
Fred and Chris are avid bikers and kayakers and enjoy being so close to the city's rivers and trails. Chris also volunteers through a network of downtown churches. They both simply love taking advantage of all their neighborhood has to offer.
I just love the ability to walk to the library, to Macy's, to the post office, to the restaurants, to the shows.
And to PNC Park and Heinz Field. On this Tuesday night, Fred and Chris walk to grab a quick dinner for two in Market Square. A few weeks later, we find them on a Friday night with a group of family and friends, enjoying even more of what downtown nights now have to offer.
So it's a little quiet on Monday and Tuesday nights, but Wednesdays on at 10, 11, even midnight, and there's people out, whereas, 5, 10 years ago, that was never the case.
For Fred, it's hard to choose his favorite thing about living downtown, but it might just be the view. How often do you sit out here?
Quite a bit. Love the river. There's just a lot of activity going on out here all the time. Just ducky tours, kayakers, river boats, the Gateway Clipper fleet, AGH helicopters going overhead, trains. There's a lot of life. There's a lot of activity.
For Chris, it's the whole new lifestyle.
So I just feel like it's an adventure.
Just a few blocks away on a rooftop deck, April and Chris Ragland didn't need any convincing. She's a special education teacher. He's a lieutenant with Pittsburgh Police. They've always wanted to live downtown, an idea inspired by vacations to New York, Chicago, and San Francisco.
Saw how people lived in those cities and said, oh, it might be
kind of nice to live in a more urban aspect, a more open floor plan, just kind of an industrial type of feel to it, and I think we started our search.
We would go on different house tours, different community tours. We would go to almost any, sort of a cheap date night when we were first married. Sundays, go to any open house we could find.
And they found the home of their dreams when they stepped off the elevator and right into this 2,000 square foot industrial loft on First Avenue. It's an old paper warehouse that was one of the first downtown buildings to be converted into housing back in 1997.
I really like the beams. Those are original to the building. You don't see wood beams that size. The brick gives a textural element.
And then the windows draw you over to the river and the bridge.
The Raglins hired an artist to create this new concrete island. And then there's the door.
I think it's a wood door with a metal overlay.
Wow. Behind the door, you can see the original weight. Of course, it no longer works with that weight, but that's the way they used to have this door open and close.
With 2 bedrooms and 1.5 baths, there's no shortage of space, even with Maggie, their 85-pound Mastiff Lab mix. But April and Chris admit they got some mixed reviews when they first talked about their plans.
The biggest concern I got from friends and family. Where were they going to park when they came to visit us?
The Raglins have a lease in a garage next to their building. Downtown residents don't pay the city's 40% parking tax, so parking in this garage is $185 a month. As for their family and friends,
I don't think I've ever had anybody who really had a hard time was visiting us either on the weekends or in the evening finding a place to park.
Now people are calling me saying, we just read about this free event or this event that's happening downtown. You know, get your house ready, we're coming over.
It's all the more evidence that the idea is catching on. But buying downtown is a bit different, with most buyers already knowing that they don't want a traditional home. And they know that a condo fee assessed by square footage will always be involved.
They're interested in maintenance-free living. You definitely will pay more to live in a condo.
But the city's made it much more attractive to buy in some buildings. There's now a 10-year, $250,000 tax abatement on new construction.
So if you're assessed at $300,000, you could take off $250,000 and then only be taxed on $50,000 for the next 10 years.
It's what sold Todd Palsick and his wife on moving downtown themselves. And it's what got him started on his very first project, 6 luxury lofts in an old office building at 806 Penn Avenue.
But do you find that the kitchen is the big selling point here?
It is in a lot of ways. It's the largest space, and we intentionally made it so much larger.
Each condo's complete with a state-of-the-art kitchen, well-appointed baths, and a balcony in the back of each unit.
Average square footage here are 1,650 square feet, so they're large. And we had a 1-bedroom for $200,000, and the top floor for about $415,000.
But what if you can't afford a several $100,000 price tag? Is there anything left to buy? Liz Kaplan says absolutely. She takes us to Chatham Towers. It's one of the oldest condo buildings in downtown. But many owners, like Jason Miller, have renovated their units over the years.
I did look at quite a few places downtown, probably 15 in total, and it took me about 6 months before I found the one that I wanted. You can find units in any price range, really, and then the sky's the limit on what you do with them.
Liz says it's a good time to buy here because it sits next to the old Civic Arena property, which is about to be redeveloped. This 1-bedroom and 1.5 bath unit is listed at $124,900.
It's a great price point, and I think it feels a lot bigger than it is. I think when you hear 900 some square feet, it sounds like it's going to be real small, but I think it feels very large because of all the light coming in.
We also see this 1,500 square foot condo in Gateway Towers across from Point State Park. It's in the $150,000 range. Lisa Solomon is not only the listing agent, she lives in the building too.
I saw these windows and I saw this unparalleled view, and they are 8x5 windows that are functional, operable. They push out. The most it will open is about 7 or 8 inches. You get the fresh air, 8x5. I feel like I'm on a cruise ship every day.
The maintenance fee here is 58 cents per square foot. For this unit, about $700 a month.
The maintenance fee here includes your heat, your air, your water, your sewage, your trash removal.
But if the downtown condo market is busy, the downtown apartment market is booming.
The rental market is really through the roof.
Several old familiar buildings now have new life as luxury apartments, including the former state office building and the old Verizon building, which was developed by a company from Philadelphia. Jeremy Waldrop is the president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership.
They said this was one of their best performing, fastest lease-up buildings that they've seen in their history, which speaks a lot. They're one of the largest developers in Center City, Philadelphia. And you're starting to see some outside investment coming nationally and internationally into the Pittsburgh market, which is something that we haven't seen in recent history.
And right now, most apartment buildings in town are nearly filled to capacity.
So the list is long of people waiting to get in.
We have about 1,500 people on what we call an interest list. We don't even call it a waiting list anymore.
Bill Gaddy is the president and CEO of Trek Development Group. He was one of the first developers to work in the Cultural District. Most recently, he's responsible for transforming the Century Building on 7th Street. It dates back to 1907.
I had my eye on it for years because I knew it was perfect for a residential conversion, primarily because it's exposed on 4 sides. There's windows on 4 sides.
The building now includes a restaurant and a mix of residential lofts and office space, including the offices of Trek Development. It's a LEED certified gold building with a rooftop deck, but that's not the only thing about it that garners attention.
We need to figure out a way to serve a broader range of incomes. So through our financing and through some help from the Cultural Trust and various foundation supporters, we were able to set aside a certain number of units, as we call them, workforce. And it's targeted for people that earn around $30,000 a year and pay about $675 per month, including utilities. So this helps with serving the workforce and creating a more vibrant, vital downtown.
All over downtown, that vibrancy is evident, especially when you visit Market Square. It's where we found Jessica Funovitz. She now calls the old G.C. Murphy's home.
Was G.C. Murphy's even open when you were a little kid? No, I don't remember it, but my mom, tells me all about G.C. Murphy.
Jessica is originally from Wexford. After college, she moved back to Pittsburgh to Shadyside. But there was something appealing about downtown.
When they opened up Market Square Place, it really caught my eye since it was a new, renovated building. So I thought it would be fun to live in all the action. It ended up being cheaper to live here than it was in Shadyside when I originally moved down here. I was working over in Station Square, so I was able to just walk across the bridge.
Jessica is now one of the estimated 40% of people who live downtown but drive out of town to work. She still loves her one-bedroom place, as does her dog Enzo. Rents here range from about $1,100 to $2,500 a month. That includes a membership to the building's brand new Y. And Jessica says the additional $150 she pays to park each month may be her best investment yet.
We have a nice parking garage right under the building, so it's actually a lot easier to be able to park here than Shadyside, since that was all street parking. And in the winter, it's awful to try to get your car out of the snow.
Jessica prefers summer and hanging out with her longtime friends on the building's rooftop deck. But Janice Rush and Brooke Toward aren't just visiting. They like the building so much, they're now sharing an apartment here.
It was always a lot of fun to just walk places and go out and do something different than the suburbs, I guess.
The whole city lifestyle was definitely what I was looking for.
An added bonus for Brooke, she works downtown.
For the first year, I didn't even have a car here, and just being able to walk to work is awesome.
How long does it take you to get to work?
Walking between 5 and 10 minutes.
But veteran radio executive Gerry Lopes has Brooke beat.
2 minutes away from my job, 3 minutes in a snowstorm.
Gerry's the president of American Urban Radio Networks and lives at the Encore on 7th. at 7th and Fort Duquesne Boulevard. He first moved to Pittsburgh in 1985 and remembers that much different downtown.
I used to do the morning news, and so I'd be out at 3 o'clock in the morning on my way down to do the broadcast, and the ladies of the night would, initially they'd try to solicit me, but after a while they realized I was going to work just like they were going to work, and I'd say after a while it was good morning, how you doing, good to see you, and they stopped soliciting me, and so but things have changed a whole lot.
For a time, life changed for Gerry too, as he left the city to move to a big home in suburbia.
I'd have 3 or 4 different people come and work on my lawn, and they'd all start with their hands out. No more do I have that to deal with. We'd have snow removal. No more do I have to deal with that. The thing that gave me the most freedom, I'll never forget this day, when I sold my snowblower.
Sold his snowblower and replaced it with this, a view of PNC Park from his balcony. The Pirates are out of town on the night we visit, but Gerry has what amounts to box seats for every home game. And when the Pirates win, there's an added plus.
So I get fireworks every night. And then when we do have either the Sky Blast or we have the 4th of July, I just go out on my balcony and enjoy it. I mean, the city's doing really a great job with some of the activities. Listen, we're here on a summer night downtown, and we've got a band on the corner here on Friday. We've got jazz at the Cats Plaza every Tuesday. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
And when it comes to beautiful views, you have to include a trip to the Fairmont Hotel. So obviously the views are the big selling point here.
Yeah, there are phenomenal views from throughout this unit.
Besides office space and hotel rooms, the newly constructed building includes 28 condominiums designed to impress. They're officially called the Residences at 3 PNC Plaza. PNC was the developer of the project. Gary Salson is its director of corporate real estate.
We think that in order for there to be successful downtown living, there has to be units at all price ranges throughout the downtown.
These condominiums hit the top of that range. This model unit is priced at $768,500. The penthouse sold for between $2.5 and $3 million.
The Homeowners Association is operated by the Fairmont. You have the amenities of the Fairmont. You've got 24-hour room service. You've got a bar and restaurant downstairs. You've got a health club next door. There's valet parking. There's a separate parking garage. And you've got the panache that comes along with the Fairmont.
Gary says some of the buyers have been people from out of state.
In any other city, quite honestly, those units would be very inexpensive.
Others are local empty nesters, and still others are people who just want to take advantage of all that downtown has to offer.
We have one owner who lives in Fox Chapel and owns this unit and uses it most of them weekends.
Which says big things about Pittsburgh and how far it's come. So the question now is, what challenges lie ahead? Planners agree we need more parking, and there has to be a solution to keep the transit system solid. And in case you're wondering about the lack of a full-service grocery store, of course we asked about that too. Not far from the farmers market and the strip, this is what we heard.
That question seems to be said in a statement that, well, of course, if there's no grocery store right downtown, then you're not really living downtown as one should.
But if somebody asks me that question, then usually I ask them, well, do you walk to your grocery store?
Yeah.
And your response is, well, no, I drive.
Because even if there was a Giant Eagle at Market Square, I would definitely want to drive so that I could put my groceries in my car.
Leaders hope as more people move here, more stores of all kinds will follow.
We're not talking big box department stores like has failed in the past. We're talking small boutique shops, small places that potentially have a Pittsburgh feel to them. A different kind of retail environment is what our focus has been. And so going forward, that's really where we hope to take it to the next level is focusing on that element.
Back at 1/5 Ave, Avanti Johnson has no qualms about her plans to move downtown. And she wins the award for shortest commute time out of everyone we've talked to.
As long as it takes me to get out of my front door and down the elevator.
Turns out, Avanti's new home will be right across the street from her office. But she doesn't mind. She's excited to be a part of all that's happening, and she's not alone.
It's a neighborhood that's growing. It's in development, and I can see the possibility of it being so much bigger and being more like a Philadelphia or a mini New York.
There continues to be a real sense of this being a unique and interesting place to live.
Just the changing attitude people have towards living downtown is what I find interesting and exciting.
It's been really interesting being down here and actually experiencing it all, and being able to see all these new openings, and I think it's definitely on an upward trend.
It's starting to become that destination and neighborhood that we envisioned.
We probably need to double again the number of people that live downtown. But I think that Pittsburgh right now is even beyond the cusp.
In 10 years, downtown is going to be a different place.
And it's resurrected to such a high degree. I'm proud to be an owner in the downtown living community.
It's one of those diamonds in the rough that will be discovered, and one day people will wake up and they'll be amazed at how many people are living in downtown Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's potential is really unlimited.